Hello, class. I'm going to be doing my book report today, and this is kind of ratchet, I know, but this is as good as I could do. I found this idea on the site that Miss Rhodes uploaded for us to look for the book projects. And this one is The Hamburger. So the first thing is a title, setting, main characters, plot, conclusion, your favorite, like the kids can pick their favorite part. And then the bottom button is like a picture, and I did all this without, like I did it on papers, and then I stapled it together. And I realized once I was putting it together that this is actually upside down. So I probably didn't do very good for the student example, but I'm kind of running out of time, so I didn't actually redo it. Anyway, so I'll start, but I'm just going to explain to you which one I chose. And obviously each part makes up a part of the hamburger. So I did Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret by Judy Blume. The genre is young adult fiction. The setting, New York, and then they moved to Farbrook, New Jersey, and the time is 1970s is when the book was written. Main characters are Margaret. She's very open, very curious and bold, and just very honest as well. Maybe a little lost. I don't know if that's a very good word for it, though. Nancy Wheeler, she's one of Margaret's best friends, which we'll get more into. And she's very bossy and very jealous of the other girls. And then Sylvia, which is Margaret's grandmother, she's also very bold, and her parents, Judy Blume's parents, consider her as a bad influence, so I put an influence there. And she's very open as well. And then Margaret's parents are kind of protective in a way, I guess. I don't know. They're not. And next we're going to be moving on to the plot. So Judy moved from New York City to Farbrook, New Jersey at the beginning of her, like a week before sixth grade year started. And she started school, and Nancy Wheeler was the first friend to come up to her and ask her to join her club. So in the club, they would write notes about like their boy crushes and all this stuff. And they also talked about like girly things. They would wear like bras on Mondays, I think, is the day, and things like that. So just a very, very girly sixth grade club. And Judy always prayed to God, but she didn't really have a religion. So she had this sixth grade teacher. He was a new teacher, and he challenged them or gave them the sorry, that lighting is kind of weird. Like half my face is dark and half not. They gave them a project to do all year long and research any topic that they wanted. And she chose religion, so she could kind of find her religion. So her grandmother came down. She was really missing her grandma. And so her grandma came down very often. Her grandma did not drive. She took train. She did not like driving, so she took the train, public transportation, down there. Anyway, so with this project, her and her grandma visited some churches, and she was deciding between a Jewish center or the YMCA. And she went to a Jewish church and 3 Christian churches, and still never really felt the presence of God and became very frustrated, so gave up on trying to find a religion. But she never stopped praying to God. She always came to him about all of her problems and always talked to him. And it's kind of interesting because she didn't grow up in any religion, but she always talked to a God. So that was always a very cool thing that I thought was pretty awesome. And then the end of the story, which is the conclusion, she finally started her period and thanked God because she knew that he was there through the whole thing. And Nancy got very jealous because she wasn't the first girl in their little group to start her period. She was the second. So she got very jealous. Yeah, so that's the conclusion. And my favorite part was the fact that Margaret tries to find her religion and tries to see what God, like, put a name to the God she was praying to. Even though she never found her religion, she still continued to pray to God, which I think is very important. I think that was really, really awesome. And then I drew a little picture. In the bottom is where the students, in this case me, put your name and the date, and then you drew a little picture. So I drew Margaret and said, God, do you hear me, with a question mark? And this is my best version I could draw of God. And I said, I always hear you. So that was kind of like a rundown of that. That's my book report. I hope you like my ratchet homemade hamburger. I kind of had fun making that, honestly. Now I have some, I guess it's really a cheeseburger, honestly, not a hamburger. But now I have some lesson plan ideas, and I can't memorize all these, so I'm just going to read them off my book. For math, I could do a survey, and they could either make a pie graph or a bar graph with the results from the survey, about maybe just something about the book. It could be each, and they'll break up in pairs, and they could do it alone, the student's option, of anything about the book, anything that relates to the book. It could be religion, it could be friends, it could be anything, whatever they can think of that relates to the book could be their survey. For science, I have do like reinvent something from the 70s. They could do partners or alone. Also, the students get to choose. And the reason why I picked 1970s was because that's whenever the book was first published. Social studies, I have make a timeline and map about the story. Reading, they could obviously read the book and then complete a plot, character, and setting map. Writing, they could write a letter to the author, write about a time they ask God a question or why they don't ask God questions or pray to God. And if they like the story, write a short essay about that. And then music and PE, I chose in groups of 3 or 4, they can make a beat to a 70s song. And I have some suggestions just to get them started, or even if they want to use those ones. So I have things like One of a Kind, Affair by the Spinners, Play That Funky Music by Wild Cherry, That's the Way I Like It, Casey and the Sunshine Band, and Superstition by Steve Weber, and We Are Family by Sister Sledge. Those are just some suggestions to get them on the right track. The song must be appropriate for school. And then for art, I had they can illustrate how they can't or can relate to Margaret's situation, or maybe a time in their life God showed up, or maybe a time in their life they turned away from God, or maybe they don't know God. Anything to relate to Margaret or how they can make a relation to her. That's what I chose for the art. So I hope you enjoyed my book report. Let me know how I did. Thank you.